The following story contains visuals that may disturb sensitive viewers. Brain surgery is a highly specialized field, and neurosurgeons are among the most respected people in medicine. They operate under circumstances few in their profession can manage.
So when an apparently respected and highly qualified neurosurgeon arrived here from the United States, his skills were welcomed. In fact, his transition from one country to another seems to have been surprisingly smooth.
The rest of his story, though, is anything but. We've been approached by patients and colleagues who allege Dr. Tristram Horton is endangering people's lives. And as Gauteng reports, it's raised serious questions about the role of the Health Practitioners Council.
One minute he was jovial, he was chatting, and the next minute, for no rhyme or reason, he became aggressive, shouting. He would scream at the neuroregistrars and say, "This is not how we do it in America."
He's a cowboy in the theater. I just think he was taking on cases that he maybe wasn't qualified for or was too arrogant to admit that he can't do it.
So I woke up, everything was paralyzed.
You cut me today and off you go. You can't, this is not a butchery.
Last year, 𝗵𝗶𝘀 was due to write his matric exams. He was young, healthy, and about to embrace a new chapter, until he suffered a seizure.
We went to a hospital. The hospital did like some scans. I was diagnosed with cerebral aneurysm.
𝗵𝗶𝘀 had a blood clot in his brain and was told he needed an immediate operation. The procedure would be done by neurosurgeon Tristram Horton.
He was a cool guy, also funny, friendly, saying, "Don't worry, everything will be fine."
The doctor assured me that it's going to be over in a short period of time. Within 4 days, he'll be back to school.
Nothing could be further from the truth. The surgery took a tragic toll on 𝗵𝗶𝘀's life and raises serious questions about Dr. Horton and his methods. A few weeks back, we received a tip-off alleging that an American neurosurgeon now practicing in South Africa was endangering the lives of his patients.
I'd sit in doctors' rooms where it's openly discussed that a patient was maimed or even paralyzed by Horton.
In the weeks that followed, we pieced together what we now consider one of the most disturbing investigations into alleged medical malpractice we've ever undertaken.
Thank you for calling Penn State Health Human Resources. This is Megan.
We'd just like to confirm if a Dr. Tristram Horton was working at your facility.
Yes, he was with us. He left in 2012.
Following his fellowship at Penn State University in America, Tristram Horton completed a second specialization in neurosurgery at the University of Michigan. In 2013, he became a director in the neurosurgery department of the Banner Medical Group in Arizona, one of the state's top hospital groups. So why did he suddenly appear in South Africa in 2020? This is an anonymous audio recording with a neurosurgeon who met Horton soon after he arrived.
I inquired about why he wanted to come from the USA. He said, no, his mother is very ill in South Africa, and that's why he was coming here. I got a bit nervous when I see someone from the institute that he quotes me he was from. It's a very prominent institute in the USA. I would find it hard to imagine that if you had been there, you would want to come and work in a state hospital in South Africa.
Horton started practicing at Gauteng's 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 Regional Hospital in 2021. It's where a nurse we'll call Anna worked with him. To protect her identity, this is a verbatim account of her experience, as told by an actress.
I first met Tristram Horton in December of 2021. He was brought to the hospital and introduced to the staff as a new consultant. He came with his American qualifications, and the way he spoke, it led me to believe that he could teach the neurosurgeon registrars new things, and we were all really excited. After a number of cases with Dr. Horton, there was a downward trend, and I realized he was dangerous.
There are just 98 neurosurgeons in South Africa, and trying to penetrate this elite community is challenging. For months, we've been speaking to medical professionals, all gravely disturbed by Horton, but still unwilling to go on record against a colleague.
I didn't go public because it was like the medical mafia. If you blew the whistle on someone, then you wouldn't find work in South Africa. That's it. There would be huge backlash.
You know, we live in South Africa. We hear stories of hits being put out on colleagues. So, when somebody has the potential of being mentally unstable, one must be careful.
It's why we promised this doctor, who also worked at the 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 hospital, that would use a computer-generated voice to keep him safe.
He had this thing of changing personalities or moods. He was unstable.
While he was at the 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 Regional Hospital, Horton was aggressive.
Yes, that is right, and it was a huge problem. At some point, an internal investigation was done, but ultimately, after a year, his contract was not renewed.
Was Dr. Horton allowed to conduct surgeries unsupervised?
No, he wasn't. Look, our goal was to protect the patients, and we did that by not letting him operate alone.
Of course.
That was all we could do. I'm sorry I can't help you more. In 2023, Horton moved into independent private practice at Gauteng's 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀 and LINMED Netcare hospitals. He later added Mediclinic Newcastle in KZN to his portfolio. David, not his real name, worked with Horton in more than one of these hospitals. Again, so concerned about speaking out, we're using an actor to deliver the answers he gave us.
He's a cowboy in the theater. Where other surgeons wouldn't touch something, he would brag that this is actually an inoperable case or that only one person has tried it in the States.
This is one of the few recordings we have of Horton's voice. It's from a video of him operating on a blood clot.
So just as a warning, I'm putting a needle into the aneurysm, so it should be fine, but I just want to give you a full warning.
David urged us to find an elderly female patient Horton had operated on. She'd been experiencing seizures from an aggressive, cancerous brain tumor and went into surgery in October last year. After the operation, Horton told her he'd successfully removed the tumor. Her name is 𝗃𝗃, and her joy at the outcome was short-lived.
His words to me and my husband, he's taken everything out that was there.
I imagine, 𝗃𝗃, that hearing news like that, you must have been relieved
I was
to hear
relieved,
it after.
yes, I was.
But a month later, a checkup revealed that the tumor was not only still there, but also bigger. This is an audio recording of a meeting 𝗃𝗃 had with Horton.
So how did this thing grow so quickly?
So let me have a look. I didn't even know about the scans. Because I'm going to tell you the entire, well, I haven't seen why they say there's regrowth.
Yes.
Really? Because I can tell you this entire thing.
Brain surgery is mentally and physically traumatic. And 𝗃𝗃 now faced going back into theatre. How did you feel about the prospect of going for a second operation, 𝗃𝗃?
You don't want to know. At that stage, I was thinking of my family. I want to be there for them.
Marcia still had faith in Horton, but was growing suspicious of what he was telling her. David had direct access to the theatre that day. This is his recollection.
Well, in theatre, he said, look, is everybody looking? Look, there's no tumor. We must close up.
But this is the scan done by Marcia's oncologist in April this year. The tumor in Marcia's brain is still there and growing bigger.
Why? Why get told that the thing is taken out, but this oncologist is telling me he didn't take everything out?
Was Horton lying about removing Marcia's tumor, or was it growing back? While we continued investigating Marcia's case, this letter sent to Mediclinic Newcastle was leaked to us. It raised deeply disturbing claims, including this standout allegation. Horton was lying to his patients about removing their tumors. The letter was written by a specialist who we'll call Dr. Andrews to protect him. He says it stemmed from concern for all Horton's patients.
The tumors that he removed, they were difficult. However, any average neurosurgeon should be able at least to come out with a biopsy to say this is a tissue from the tumor. Not to miss it completely altogether.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That an experienced neurosurgeon would miss tumors entirely seems unfathomable. But we were shown these brain scans of some of Horton's patients, taken by a doctor who suspected the neurosurgeon was lying.
Yep, so this is the second scan. Yeah, that's post-op.
Tumor is still there as it was.
The same size, it's still right there.
The evidence seems undeniable.
Remember, I can talk as much as I want, and even lie if I want to, but the image, the scans, the MRIs, you will never bribe them.
This doctor confirmed that Horton had never removed Marcia's aggressive, cancerous tumor.
It shows very well that from the first instance, it was never even touched. Any neurosurgeon would have managed to remove that tumor of Marcia and would have removed it completely. This is a dire situation.
Do you think he possesses the skills to remove these tumors?
I'm a very optimistic person. I think in future he will, but at the moment, not yet.
Mediclinic Newcastle confirmed they're currently investigating the allegations made in the letter, and Horton has elected not to practice there for now. But the question of why a neurosurgeon would leave a respected position in America to practice here remained. We examined his history, focusing on 2013, when it appears his troubles began at Banner Medical in Arizona.
The hospital staff complained that he was being hostile, aggressive, and irrational. So they did a drug test, and Dr. Horton tested positive for cocaine use.
After an extensive investigation by the Arizona Medical Board, Horton was ordered to surrender his practicing license in Arizona in 2017 and then in Pennsylvania in 2019. Interestingly, a psychological evaluation conducted in that time found his reactions slow for someone performing neurosurgery. It's around then that he surfaced in South Africa.
How can the Health Practitioners Council register somebody who lost their license in America for cocaine use and gross medical negligence?
The Health Practitioners Council, or HPCSA, is solely responsible for ensuring that only competent and legitimate practitioners are registered to practice. The first thing required from a foreign doctor is a letter of good standing. When we asked the HPCSA how he was registered, it asked for time to investigate. While we waited, We tried putting our evidence to Horton himself.
Hello?
Hi, Dr. Horton. It's 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀. I'm calling from Carte Blanche.
Oh, yes? Okay. How did you get my number?
Sorry, Doc, I can't really tell you that.
Well, that's crazy. I am not having any further conversation with you without a lawyer.
Dr. Horton, hold on. 𝗬-year-old 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆 Ramoshaba is another of Horton's patients. In October last year, he was operated on to fix a blood clot on his brain. It involved putting a clip in place, but after the surgery, Horton told 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆's family the clip had slipped and he'd need to go back into theatre.
He told my mom that if he don't open his son and do the surgery, he could die in the next coming days.
David was in theatre that day. His recollection of the incident is very different to Horton's.
A few hours after the first surgery, I was told Horton is taking the patient back in because the way he clipped, he didn't clip the aneurysm, he clipped the main blood supply.
Astonishingly, Horton had allegedly placed the clip in the wrong place and halted blood supply to a section of 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆's brain. He woke up paralyzed.
I turned my head and tried to move, like nothing was moving, and I started crying.
𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆 had no idea what happened to him or why he couldn't move.
When I turned, I saw Dr. Horton. He was like talking to himself, like worried, saying what went wrong.
Who was he talking to?
He was talking to himself. Like, what happened? Everything was going accordingly. What went wrong? All this stuff.
He was asking himself that?
Yes.
Within a few days of the second surgery, 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆 was transferred to a step-down facility where he had to learn to walk again.
Brilliant.
And Horton came to visit him.
I was like, what did you do to me? I was like, I don't know what happened. Like, he didn't like talk a lot. I was like, I don't know, 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆, but you'll be fine. So I was angry. Told him, like, get out.
Yes, 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆, beautiful.
𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆 never wrote his matric exams and is still battling to function as he did before the surgery. 𝗃𝗏𝗃 Hospital confirmed that Horton is an independent practitioner at the hospital, and they can't comment on his behalf. On 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗆's case, they declined to comment as there are legal proceedings underway. 𝗀𝗏𝗃 Netcare says it has no issues with Horton, and he's currently an independent practitioner with the hospital. 𝗃𝗏𝗃 turned down an interview but acknowledged an error with Horton's registration and thanked us for alerting them. But it's an error that has had life-changing consequences for some of his patients. We felt compelled to get a more detailed response, so we called 𝗃𝗏𝗃 spokesperson Priscilla Sekonyana.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Priscilla. It's 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗆 here, calling from Carte Blanche.
Hi.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to send me an email or WhatsApp?
I'm looking at the response from the 𝗃𝗏𝗃 here. We have a number of other questions.
As indicated, the medical board is looking into the matter. I'm not sure how far they are with it right now.
Eventually, the 𝗃𝗏𝗃 confirmed that, as yet, no action had been taken against Horton, but an investigation is underway. Horton denied all these allegations through his lawyer, stating that he's being persecuted to damage his career. He says his registration with 𝗃𝗏𝗃 was recently upheld. It had independently vetted his credentials, and that the 𝗃𝗏𝗃 had closed a complaint by one of the patients in our story without any penalty. Dr. Horton claims that his license in Arizona was reinstated, that there was no internal grievance or disciplinary action against him for any behavioral issues, and that all sessional consultant contracts at Tele Mokgerane were not renewed, not only his. He declined to comment on any of his patients, as is bound by his professional oath. Marcia has been told by another neurosurgeon that she'll need a third operation.
I don't know if I can go through it again. I've lost all faith in doctors. All faith in doctors.
And a medical expert we spoke to says the blood clot in 𝗵𝗶𝘀's brain is still intact and life-threatening. Sadly, he's refusing to go back to hospital.
I don't know what to say. He messed up my life.
Thanks for watching. Why not drop us a comment below? We love reading your opinions. Remember, you can now access Carte Blanche stories anytime, anywhere, even offline. Carte Blanche, the podcast, is now available on all major podcast platforms. So be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button and be part of our growing online family.